Welcome to Broadcasting Seeds, the place where curiosity meets the unexplained, and where strange phenomena aren't just whispered about, they're put under the spotlight. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we're diving headfirst into one of the most puzzling mysteries gripping the U.S. right now: drones. Not the ones your neighbor flies at the park, not the package delivering kind. You know, the ones you order at 2 a.m. because you needed that bulk box of protein bars. No, we're talking about mysterious swarms of drones spotted across multiple states: New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, right here in 2024. And this isn't even the first time. Virginia lit the fuse for this strange phenomenon back in 2023. But here's where things get weird. These aren't just isolated events. We're talking precision movements, large-scale coordination, and absolutely no one, officially, has a clue what's going on. Or do they? That's what we're going to unpack today. Are these covert U.S. military tests shielded under the big red stamp of top secret? Is the government asleep at the wheel, or just too lazy to keep up with technology that's outpacing them? Maybe this is foreign adversaries using drones as spy games to probe our weaknesses, or something even stranger: UFOs, UAPs. Call them what you will, but those theories are gaining traction. So buckle up, because we're not just scratching the surface today. We'll explore every angle of these mysterious drone sightings, from government cover-ups and military tech to the possibility of foreign espionage and even extraterrestrial activity. You're going to want to hang on for this one, because this story isn't just strange, it's a question of what's hovering right over our heads and why. Let's get into it. Let's lay down the foundation. What are we really looking at here? These aren't your buddy's $200 drone he bought on Amazon to annoy the neighbors. What's happening in places like New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and what kicked off in Virginia back in 2023, is something far more coordinated, deliberate, and unsettling. Let's rewind to Virginia, December 2023. People started reporting swarms of drones, clusters of lights moving in near-perfect formation, zigzagging through the skies in ways that didn't make sense for standard hobbyist tech. Witnesses said the drones appeared in groups of 6, 12, or sometimes dozens, moving together like flocks of robotic birds, but with precision and speed that bordered on military efficiency. Rural communities were the epicenter. Farmlands, back roads, the kind of places where you notice when something out of the ordinary starts buzzing above your head. Law enforcement tried to respond, but that's when things got messy. Local sheriff's offices couldn't pinpoint the origins. FAA regulations were brought up, but the sheer scale and persistence of these sightings hinted at something organized, not random. And if you think it ended in Virginia, you'd be mistaken. Fast forward to 2024, and now we're seeing the same drone swarms popping up like clockwork across 5 major states in the Northeast and Midwest. New Jersey was the first, with the drones reportedly spotted over power plants, railways, and even suburban neighborhoods. Then came New York. Upstate towns saw clusters of lights moving so quickly and quietly that locals assumed it was military technology. By the time reports started coming out of Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, news outlets were forced to start asking questions, and when the drones hit Ohio, it became clear that this wasn't just a fluke. But here's the kicker. No one, at least publicly, has claimed responsibility. Not the federal government, not the military, not any tech companies. The FAA, as usual, stuck to a non-committal stance, citing investigations underway and unknown operators. Helpful, right? Local law enforcement? Well, let's just say they're as baffled as the rest of us, and they don't have the tools or authority to track high-level drone operations. So, let's break this down. What we know so far: precision and coordination. These drones aren't random. They move in patterns, groups, and with a purpose. Multiple states. The spread of sightings hints at a deliberate operation or test. Someone somewhere is planning something. Silence from officials. Either they don't know what's going on, or they do know and aren't telling us. And that brings us to the big question: who's behind this? In the next section, we'll look at one possible explanation: covert U.S. military operations. Is it possible the government is using our skies to test cutting-edge drone technology? And if so, what are they hiding? Stay with me. This rabbit hole goes deeper. When you hear the words unidentified drones buzzing through the skies in coordinated swarms, your first instinct might be, that sounds military, and you wouldn't be wrong to suspect it. After all, the U.S. military has a long history of testing advanced technology in plain sight while maintaining radio silence on the matter. It's the oldest trick in the book: deny, deflect, distract. So let's ask the question outright: is this a U.S. military operation? The history of military drone testing. The U.S. has been at the forefront of drone technology for decades, and most major advancements in unmanned systems have come directly out of military testing. The Predator and Reaper drones that made headlines during the War on Terror both started as experimental systems tested in isolated areas before they were publicly acknowledged. And let's not forget the more recent revelations about swarming drones, small UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles that can work in coordinated groups, sharing intelligence and operating as one. DARPA, yes, the same agency behind robotic dogs and other wild tech, has been working on drone swarms for years under programs like the Offset Initiative, Offensive Swarm-Enabled Tactics, and the Gremlins Project. These programs aim to create swarms of drones capable of performing reconnaissance, surveillance, and even electronic warfare with chilling efficiency. What makes this relevant? Well, consider this. The drones spotted in New Jersey, New York, and elsewhere share key characteristics of these swarming technologies: large numbers, coordinated movement, and silent operations. If you didn't know better, you'd assume it was a DARPA prototype making its way through the testing pipeline. Why test over American skies? The obvious question is, why would the military test this stuff over civilian areas? On one hand, it sounds insane. Why risk public panic or scrutiny? But on the other hand, it's genius. Testing in controlled environments like military bases or deserts only goes so far. At some point, you need to stress test new tech in realistic conditions. That means urban settings, rural farmlands, and everything in between. But, and this is a big but, there's a fine line between testing and outright breaking the law. If these drones belong to the military, their silent presence over populated areas raises serious concerns about transparency, privacy, and accountability. It's not the first time the government has skirted around those boundaries, though, is it? Think Project Blue Book. Think Area 51. Let's not forget the military's deny everything policy has a historical precedent. When the U-2 spy plane was being tested in the 1950s, people reported strange objects in the skies, and the Air Force laughed it off as weather balloons. History may not repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. The silence speaks volumes. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If these drones are military in origin, the government's silence could be the biggest clue. For weeks now, local officials have claimed ignorance, the FAA has mumbled about ongoing investigations, and the Pentagon? Crickets. If this were a private operation, say from a tech company or hobbyist group, someone would have come forward by now. But when no one talks, you start looking at the people with the power to stay quiet. So where does that leave us? It's entirely plausible that these swarms are part of a covert military program, but if they are, it raises even bigger questions. What are they preparing for? Drone swarms are game changers in warfare, capable of overwhelming air defenses and gathering intelligence on a massive scale. Why now? Are we seeing a response to growing geopolitical threats, or are they stress testing for domestic surveillance purposes? How far will they go? What happens when the line between military tech and civilian oversight gets blurred? The military theory checks a lot of boxes, but it doesn't explain everything. For example, could foreign actors be involved? In the next section, we'll explore whether these drone swarms are part of an espionage campaign, a chilling reminder that the skies above us may not be as secure as we think. Stick around. This is where things get geopolitical. Now, let's shift gears. What if these drones aren't ours? What if the buzz in the skies isn't about U.S. military testing, but rather foreign espionage? A quiet, high-tech infiltration probing American vulnerabilities. It might sound like a plot straight out of a Tom Clancy novel, but let me tell you, foreign drone surveillance isn't just possible. It's happening. The global drone race. First, let's establish something. The drone game isn't exclusive to the United States. Countries like China, Russia, and Iran have been making massive strides in drone technology, particularly in swarming capabilities, stealth systems, and autonomous controls. For context, China's military-industrial complex has developed swarming drones so advanced that their systems can simulate massive aerial combat scenarios. Take China's Xi'an blowfish drones, for example. Small, agile UAVs capable of working together as a swarm, identifying targets and executing reconnaissance missions. Pair that with China's relentless investments in artificial intelligence, and you've got a recipe for a silent, undetectable surveillance fleet that can infiltrate airspace without breaking a sweat. And then there's Russia, our old Cold War sparring partner. While their military drone tech lags slightly behind China's, Russia is no stranger to unconventional tactics. They've already deployed drones in combat zones like Ukraine for surveillance and electronic warfare. If you think they wouldn't love the chance to send a swarm buzzing through our backyard to see what we're up to, think again. Why would foreign governments do this? Let's connect the dots. If you were a foreign power looking to test the response time and capabilities of U.S. air defenses, map out critical infrastructure, power plants, railways, military bases, gather electronic signals or reconnaissance data on American operations, then swarming drones would be the ideal tool for the job. They're small, fast, cheap to produce, and nearly impossible to trace back to their origin if you know what you're doing. The beauty of modern drone tech is that you can operate it from anywhere. A field agent in New Jersey with a laptop and a satellite connection could deploy a fleet of drones and vanish into the night. Think about what we've seen so far. The drones in New Jersey were spotted near power plants. New York saw activity in suburban and rural areas. Coincidence? Maybe. But if you're mapping critical infrastructure or testing the limits of American radar systems, this is exactly where you'd go. The national security blind spot. Here's where things get unsettling. The US government, for all its power, has blind spots when it comes to drones. Sure, we've got advanced radar systems and missile defense platforms, but those are designed for big, fast-moving threats like aircraft or ballistic missiles, not swarms of toaster-sized drones flying low and silent. In 2019, the Gatwick airport drone incident in the UK caused a complete shutdown of operations. Why? Because two drones, just two, created chaos. Now imagine a swarm of 50, 100, or 200 drones moving through American airspace undetected. It's like trying to stop a swarm of mosquitoes with a sledgehammer. And don't forget the ongoing balloon incident earlier in 2023, where a Chinese spy balloon floated across the continental U.S. undisturbed for days. If we couldn't catch a balloon, what makes you think we're catching stealthy drone swarms? The implications. If these drones are foreign in origin, this is bigger than just a cool story for the news. It's a red flag, a sign that other nations are probing, testing, and maybe even laughing at our inability to respond. It means our critical infrastructure is vulnerable. If they can map it, they can attack it. Our defenses are outdated. We're playing catch-up to modern drone warfare tactics. We're being watched. Whether it's reconnaissance, electronic warfare, or a show of strength, foreign powers are using our skies as their testing ground. And here's the kicker. If these drones are not American, someone in the government knows it. Someone has the data, the radar tracks, or the thermal imagery, and they're choosing to keep quiet. Is it incompetence? Is it fear of admitting our vulnerabilities? Or is it something else entirely? Which leads me to the next theory. What if these drones aren't foreign and they're not ours either? In the next section, we'll go off the deep end, exploring whether these sightings have less to do with earthly governments and more to do with something otherworldly. UFOs, UAPs, call them what you will, but there's a reason this theory refuses to go away. Hang tight, because this is where the conversation takes a turn for the bizarre. All right, folks, let's venture into the territory where things get really weird, because sometimes the simplest explanation just doesn't cut it. What if these drones, or drone-like objects, aren't military? What if they aren't foreign tech either? What if we're looking at something not of this world? Before you roll your eyes and dismiss this as just another tinfoil hat conspiracy, hear me out. The idea that some of these aerial anomalies could be UFOs, or as the government now officially calls them, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, isn't as far-fetched as it once was. In fact, recent years have brought an unprecedented level of official acknowledgement that something is in our skies, and we don't know what it is. The UAP boom. Let's connect the dots. In 2019, U.S. Navy pilots leaked footage of strange craft performing maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. Instant accelerations, sharp turns, and hovering with no visible propulsion system. Then came the 2020 Pentagon UAP Task Force, followed by congressional hearings in 2023, where whistleblowers and high-ranking officials admitted that UAPs are very real, and they're a matter of national security. One whistleblower even claimed that non-human biologicals had been recovered, but that's another rabbit hole for another episode. Here's the relevant part. Those UAPs, as described by military pilots, look and behave an awful lot like some of these drone sightings, silent, fast, and coordinated. Could it be that these mysterious swarms we're seeing in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Ohio are not drones at all, but something disguised as drones? If I were an advanced non-human intelligence trying to observe Earth without being noticed, what better cover than modern drone hysteria? The disguise theory. Think about it. Drones are everywhere now. Hobbyists, tech companies, even farmers are using drones for daily tasks. The public is desensitized to seeing blinking lights in the night sky. If UFOs or whoever's piloting them wanted to blend in, why not take advantage of that? It's genius, really. A craft that might have raised alarm bells 20 years ago is now dismissed as just another drone. But there's more. Witness accounts of these swarming drones often describe lights moving in unbelievable precision at speeds that challenge conventional technology. Some even report seeing craft that accelerate instantaneously or hover in place with no sound, exactly the kinds of characteristics we've come to associate with UAPs. If these drone swarms are UAPs, or some hybrid technology we don't understand, it opens a Pandora's box of unsettling questions. Who's behind them? Are these extraterrestrial visitors, interdimensional entities, or something far older, something biblical even? What's their purpose? Observation? Surveillance? A test of our reactions? Why now? Why are these sightings increasing in both frequency and scale? And what does it mean for us? And then there's the connection to military silence. If UAPs are flying over American airspace disguised as drones, you better believe the government knows about it. The Pentagon doesn't like admitting that there are things it can't identify, let alone control. Silence, as we've seen time and time again, is their best defense. Biblical ties and high strangeness. Here's where it gets even more interesting. What if these sightings are tied to something deeper, something biblical? Ancient texts are filled with descriptions of beings and craft descending from the skies. Call them angels, watchers, or divine messengers, whatever name you prefer. Could the return of strange things in the heavens be a warning? A sign? The book of Ezekiel describes a wheel within a wheel that moved like lightning across the sky. Sounds an awful lot like some of these UAP maneuvers, doesn't it? I'm not saying these drones are divine chariots, but there's something about these patterns that resonates with old stories of watchers and visitations, events that shook humanity to its core. At this point, the idea that some of these drone swarms could be UAPs or something beyond human comprehension can't be ignored. But regardless of their origin, they demand our attention. In the final section, we'll tie it all together: military secrets, foreign threats, and the possibility of UFOs, while asking the big question, what happens next? Are we ready for the truth, or will we keep ignoring what's hovering just over our heads? We've explored the possibilities, military black projects, foreign espionage, and the potential for something otherworldly. Now it's time to connect the dots and ask the most important question: what does this all mean for us? Because whether these mysterious swarms of drones are cutting-edge tech, a foreign threat, or UAPs, one thing is certain: they're showing up for a reason. If it's military, a question of trust. Let's start with the U.S. government. If these drones are part of a top-secret military program, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, this could mean the U.S. is advancing drone technology faster than we realize, mastering swarming tactics that will dominate future battlefields. That's comforting, right? We like to think we're ahead of the curve, but here's the catch. If the government is testing this tech in populated areas without informing the public, it raises serious questions about trust and oversight. Are we comfortable living under skies filled with military experiments, completely unaware? How much are we willing to accept for the sake of national security? And let's not forget, if this is testing, it means they're preparing for something. Drone swarms aren't just cool gadgets. They're weapons of war. Are we entering a new era of conflict where drones, not soldiers, will dominate the battlefield? If it's foreign, a growing vulnerability. Now, what if these aren't ours at all? If foreign governments are testing swarming drones over American skies, we've got a problem, a big one. It means our airspace isn't as secure as we thought, and our adversaries are bold enough to fly directly over us. It also signals that we're behind in the drone arms race, struggling to keep up with nations like China and Russia, who are investing billions into unmanned systems and AI-driven tech. The scariest part? This isn't just about surveillance. Swarming drones can overwhelm defenses, map infrastructure, and even deliver payloads. Imagine 100 small drones taking out a power grid or disrupting supply lines. The implications for warfare and for civilian life are staggering. And if our government knows this and isn't telling us, it begs the question, how vulnerable are we really? If it's something else, are we ready for the truth? Here's where we go beyond the boundaries of the conventional. If these sightings are tied to UAPs, if there's something more advanced, more intelligent, or even non-human behind these drones, are we ready for what that means? Because let's be honest, the idea of UFOs or extraterrestrial intelligence showing up isn't as far-fetched as it once was. Congress has held hearings on UAPs. Whistleblowers have stepped forward. If this phenomenon turns out to be something otherworldly, it changes everything, not just in science, but in how we see ourselves. We're no longer the apex beings on the planet. We're being observed, studied, or maybe even tested. For some, that's terrifying. For others, it's confirmation of what they've suspected all along, that we're not alone. And let's not forget the spiritual implications. What if these events are tied to something much deeper? Could these sightings be signs of a shift in the world, something biblical, prophetic, or tied to high strangeness we can't yet explain? The heavens have always been a place of mystery and meaning, and maybe, just maybe, these drones are part of a larger story unfolding before our eyes. The bigger picture. So where does all of this leave us? Military, foreign, or otherworldly? No matter the explanation, these sightings force us to confront a few harsh truths. Our skies are not secure. If the government doesn't know what's happening, or does and won't say, how can we trust that they're protecting us? Technology is outpacing accountability. Whether it's drones or UAPs, we've reached a point where objects in our skies are moving faster and smarter than our ability to control or even identify them. The unknown is real. We live in an age where the strange and unexplained are no longer limited to folklore and conspiracy theories. They're here, they're happening, and they're demanding our attention. What comes next? Here's my take. The truth, whatever it is, will eventually surface. Whether it's leaked documents, whistleblowers, or undeniable evidence, the people behind these drone swarms, military, foreign, or otherwise, can't stay in the shadows forever. But until then, we need to keep asking questions, pushing for transparency, and refusing to dismiss the unexplained. Because the real danger isn't in the drones, it's in ignoring them. In the words of an old saying, the eyes of the world are watching, but whose eyes are watching us? Think about that. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up today's deep dive into the drone phenomenon sweeping across our skies. Whether we're looking at top secret military tech, foreign espionage, or something that transcends the limits of human understanding, one thing is clear: there's something happening up there, and it deserves our attention. As always, it's not about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. Are these sightings a sign of a new technological arms race? Are we being probed by foreign adversaries? Or are we standing on the edge of something far stranger, something that challenges what we think we know about the world? The skies hold mysteries we're only beginning to understand, and the truth. Well, the truth is rarely convenient, but here at Broadcasting Seeds, we don't shy away from the strange, the unexplained, or the unsettling. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor. Like, share, and review the podcast wherever you're listening. Your support helps spread these seeds of thought and keep the conversation going. And hey, if you've got your own theories or stories about strange things in the skies, drop me a message. I'd love to hear them. Until next time, keep looking up, keep questioning what you see, and remember, the unknown isn't something to fear, it's something to explore. I'm Bennett Tanton, and this has been Broadcasting Seeds. Thanks for listening.
I got bad thoughts that make my mind scared, hold me hostage and they don't fight fair. Who gon' pray for me and wipe all my tears? Who gon' save me if you not right here? Move this darkness and make my sight clear. Take me your way cause I don't like here. Ghosts of my past, they fill in the night air. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Drowning, I'm off the deep end. Apparitions of all my demons. All my thoughts are committing treason. All alone, who gon' hear me screaming? Manifestations of my fears. Regrets that stretched out for light years. Can almost touch the light, homie, it's right there. Body free but trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, don't let me drown. All the lights are